MCR Pure Cotton Club, formals and casual shirts.
பாரம்பரியமான சுவையான புது அறிமுகம் KTV True Value Bronatile.
More than all these things, it is for my dog. The dog kind of died, and yeah, see, now I'm able to feed 6 dogs. I can take care of them, but
Hello, this interview is being conducted at Kiss Cafe, that's KIS, keep it simple, and it's in Kasturba Nagar, Adyar. Hello Avinash, welcome to Kiss Cafe, and I don't have to welcome you to Galata Plus because you handle the operations of Galata Plus. I want to know, because I have been traveling with you with this film Naangal, which is a semi-autobiographical film. I have seen various cuts down the years, beginning with a 4-hour and 18-minute cut that premiered at the Mumbai Film Festival in 2023. What is it like for a director to have a labor of love of that length shortened to an audience-friendly length of about 2.5 hours?
so the script that we had written was about 2.5 hours, supposed to come to a length of 2.5 hours. What also happened was during the shoot, I started realizing a lot of things and I wanted to be true to what I'm feeling. So what happened was we ended up shooting about 60 scenes which was improvised. And because those improvisations came out beautifully and it also made a lot of sense for me to figure out who these characters are, I wanted to retain it. So the first cut we did, it's a longer cut, and then we kind of trimmed it down to about 4 hours and 19 minutes. And when I saw the film, I felt this kind of brings the truth of these characters in the most authentic possible way. But at every given point, we knew what we are going to keep, what we are going to take away in the 2.5 hours cut, because that follows the script.
Okay.
So the difference being, when you see the 2.5 hour cut, it's a very plot heavy film where there is something happening and that changes something and then you end up at another point. Whereas the 4 hour 19 minute length, it's the same plot, but I indulge and you kind of go into their world a little more.
Yeah.
When the moment I started improvising, I knew that I have to keep my check, because end of the day, we were very clear that we wanted to present it to a theatrical audience. To tell you how clear we were, the 4 hour 19 minute version to the 2 hour 37 minute version was the first theatrical cut we did. I did it in over a day. Not over a day, I mean it was probably about 4.5 hours. So that was how clear we were as to what to cut. The 7 minutes was tougher.
Okay. This is something that we've talked about a little before, but how does one write a script that is personal? Because one of the things that many people tell you about writing is write what you know. And I don't think anybody knows more than you about this particular script because it is drawn from your life. But that being the case, let's say there are 1,000 memories. Of course, there are infinite, but let's say there are 1,000 memories. How do you pick out, say, 60 memories and say, these are the ones that make most sense for my film?
I trusted my instinct a lot. I didn't put too much thought into how those feelings are manipulated or kind of dramatized. I went with what I felt very instinctively. When I started thinking, I got a couple of memories which kind of were very vivid and strong. So I retained all those things first. And of course, I had to make some dramatic, some cinematic liberty. I took some cinematic liberties to make it dramatic and stuff. And what also happened was, after making the film, I started remembering some beautiful memories. So I'm like, oh, okay, if only this had come earlier. But then I have noted it down for some other script and stuff. So one, I relied on my instinct first, and second, what I also did was I didn't want it to be, unidimensional in that sense, where I say these kids are helpless and the father is a very strict father. No, I wanted it to be a wholesome character. So that took me a lot of time, because see, when you're writing something about something that had happened to you, though you're trying to dramatize it, what also happens is that you have to accept a lot of truth. So when it comes to truth, it is not only what happened to you, what also you have manipulated to your own memory to say that, oh, this is what has happened to me. So when I had to keep accepting a lot of things that I have grown up believing or I've conditioned myself to believe, that's when the real drama started happening to me in the script, in terms of, who is this guy? Who is this Rajkumar character that I'm trying to...
That's the father.
That's the father's character who I'm trying to build on. So then I started realizing that, okay, memory is one, vivid memories are good, great, but I'll have to be honest to myself. I can't let the thought that, okay, I want to make a dramatized story and I make the father the villain, the children the heroes, I had to accept a lot of truth for myself for me to figure, okay, this is my dramatic arc.
Right. One of the things that's interesting about this movie is that it follows a similar structure like Vikramaditya Motwani's Udan. And when I don't mean structure, I mean like a one line. There is a very, very strict father, and there's one son who wants to be free or like lead his own life. Here it's three children that I don't even know if they want to lead their own life. They're just trying to figure out childhood. So in that way, it's a very loosely kind of a thing. But what is interesting about this is that where Udan is a very, very formal and structured narrative, this is in a good way a much looser narrative because it's a collection of memories. How do you write a screenplay that is filled with memories? Because you can start anywhere and end anywhere. Okay, maybe that's not right. You have to start with some kind of inciting incident and end with something that closes the whole thing, right? But in between, how do you make sure that the audience is still with you on some kind of narrative journey as opposed to just an illustrative journey?
I initially had this thing where I was trying to make it like a regular, mainstream approach in the sense that it needs to follow a plot. What also started happening was I was making all these small events try to seem major. That kind of a flaw started happening when I was writing it. Very quickly I kind of thought about a structure which basically like life. I didn't want a structure which is going to be plot heavy, but the narrative thread is that these children are being put into a situation and then the first break before the interval happens. So what also happened is I started giving a little more permission to myself to say, okay, let's just write and indulge for some time. So in that indulgence, what happened was I started seeing a pattern in terms of what is happening, how are they reacting to the father. And I also subconsciously knew that I have to take it a little to the interval point. It can't just come out randomly. So I had to have those spurts of, okay, this is the arc is moving here, the arc is moving here, the arc is moving here. Hence the trope of the shoe comes in the beginning. Hence the trope of the boy, ends up peeing after seeing that his dad has come back home. So these small dramatic arcs are kind of, I've written it in a way where when the interval sequence happens, you know that it is a culmination of so many things which is happening. So even the scene, the first time the kid gets slapped and everybody is helpless, that's when we see what is happening. The eldest brother goes to his room and is weeping alone. So that weeping is important for me because it's within himself, so that when the burst out happens, it's not only for that whatever happens before the interval, it's for everything together.
Yeah.
Because you're used to learning screenwriting a certain way, that was always there. But in this process, I was able to let myself go a little more, like how life is. So what I also do is, I don't structure writing very, very, very clearly so that I let some subconscious decisions happen, because I feel that my conscious is very single dimensional. So I just want it to be a little more subconscious, and that helps me get into a flow state where I just openly write, and then I kind of figure out my structure and small embellishments to make sure that I get like a through line, if you see.
Now, one question that many people are likely to have in this movie is that, okay, you're focusing on the father and the three boys. It's a very male household, but you do bring in the mother later, at a later point, but you never show how the father or the mother met, what kind of circumstances did they get married in, were they happy when they had children, were they not happy when they had children. It's all a bit of a mystery because all we know is that at this particular point, they are not together. Why was that important to you, that you keep the mother a bit of a mystery? Not the mother itself, but the relationship between the mother and the father and the mother, and therefore the mother and the children, a bit of a mystery.
So when I thought of this idea, I knew that it had to be from the children's point of view. So in fact, there was a time where I thought that I should never show the face of the father and the mother. Like how Tom and Jerry is constructed, where you see Tom, you see Jerry, you never see the humans.
Yeah.
I also had a thought where if I can make a film like that, I don't need to show who the people are. So coming from that point of view, I also realized that all the judgments I'm making today are because as an adult, I'm making certain decisions which are like, this is what is happening, this is what is happening, and this is what is happening. I didn't want to get into that. So every time I got the adult's judgment or instinct, I said, no, cut it off. What will the child think? And I realized the child does not understand anything. So I did not understand anything as a child, and therefore these children also do not get it. For them, it is just the magnitude of what is happening. If the father is buying them food, it becomes the greatest pleasure they have because they got the greatest food. If the father says, let's go for a film, that becomes the biggest event of their lives. And if the father says, you guys are not studying properly, and if he probably lands a slap, it becomes the biggest event of their life, you know. So I wanted to dramatize that aspect of childhood where even the smallest thing becomes the most dramatic thing in their life. Sometimes it might travel with them across, decades, and then they realized, why am I having this thought? It doesn't make sense. But then by then it's too far ingrained that you can't go back. So I wanted this aspect, so I felt, okay, let it be from the children's point of view. And I had to cut down everything where I wanted to, where I felt like, oh, if I can justify this. But the children don't know, and no parent is going to discuss their finances or their personal problems in front of their children. And when this father does, he only gives them a glimmer of what is happening, but not the entire truth. Because no parent does that, because they don't know the children to understand or kind of go through what they are going through. So that was my motive.
That was your this one. You write a screenplay, and when you are also the editor of the movie, you are already editing from a screenplay point of view. That is, you keep writing the screenplay, you keep fine-tuning it and fine-tuning it and fine-tuning it till, so that itself is a form of editing. What happens when, this is the rare time I can ask somebody this, because not many directors are their own writers and also their own editors. How does the editing in the screenplay stage differ from, you have the film that is shot and then you're editing? How do the two things differ?
When it is in the screenplay stage, the mind works very fast. Therefore, you see all the transitions very easily, and you think it is going to transition beautifully. For example, if there is a sequence which says that these two characters are talking, and then I have a long dissolve, I cut to the house, and then which signifies that they are having a sad time, and then another dissolve comes to another event, and that time has passed. When I type in a screenplay, I probably write 6 or 7 lines, and my brain processes it image fast, and I know this is happening.
Yeah.
So when I go on to shoot it, what you realize is that you need that expression. So at what point am I going to have the dissolve? And even, you can't fix this point for dissolve. So you need to make sure that there are enough dramatic expressions the actor is told to give. Therefore, I can dissolve at any other point. And even the dissolve, again, the length of the dissolve matters. Like if it is just 1 second dissolve, which is 24 frames, doesn't make sense. Sometimes I have 5-second dissolves in the film, but it's a very slow and gradual dissolve. So in editing, what happens is you realize that what your brain conceives during writing is not enough. So because the brain, it fills in the gaps of all the other shots. So when I come to direct a film, I also realize that I need all these different things so that I can edit it. In case somebody says it is slow, give me another shot, I need to somehow get another shot. So direction became more practical in terms of adding additional shots. Therefore, the editor has the option of conveying these the best. So
that's the change.
Yeah.
So you're basically saying that screenplay writing, the editing there is a little more abstract, whereas here you're working with very concrete images. So your editing becomes a little more concrete,
Yes.
okay, right? So let's talk about the cinematography, which is another element. Again, as a person who's directing and writing the screenplay, you have images in your head. How do you translate them into physical images? Because do you aim for exactness, or obviously you can never be exact because there's going to be a location, there's going to be weather, there's going to be all kinds of light conditions and all that. But how do you basically say, this is my mood palette and this is how I'm going to translate it to screen? And also if you can talk about the decision to film it in black and white and color.
Yeah, I've done my own cinematography, camera work for ad films, smaller ad films where I can manage and stuff. So when it came to first shooting this film, I realized that as a director, I'll have to be as close as possible to the subject that I'm filming. And I didn't want any other distractions to happen where I'm giving a comment, there's somebody else in between, and then comes my actors. Though I might walk to them and tell them what I want, the way I'm conveying it visually depends on somebody else, and I need to convey this to him as well. I felt I'm going to become very tired by the end of the process where I have to keep explaining everybody the emotional arc. I didn't want to do that. So I chose to do the camera myself. Now what happens is, because I'm choosing to do the camera myself, obviously when you start you can say, okay, long shot, close up. Like how I write instinctively where I want it to be free flowing, I also film instinctively, because I might think that I want this shot in the morning. I might write, the sky is orange in color, but it might be pink that day, or it might be blue, or it might be cloudy. So then what I do is I say, listen, let's go to the set. Whatever nature gives us is very important. So what I try to do is I try to film one scene that very day as fast as possible, so that I don't have to come back again to the situation. Because this film demanded me to be efficient, and I cannot afford to have another day and kind of recreate stuff. At least for this film, I believe in the fact that if I'm trying to recreate nature, I'm going to kill the film, because this film, nature is as important a part of this film as the story is, as the plot is. So we were able to at least get an idea of where the sun is, how the climate is going to be and stuff. But what we did was we were okay to anything. So the easiest way I did that was I filmed a master first. And the master is not done because I just need to know where the actors are. The actors are placed in a way where every movement that they do, every expression they give their 100%, so that even if I only have that one shot, I know that my film is done. So the timings are played accordingly so that I get that one particular shot, and it's a wide shot. So let's say it is sunny in the wide shot. If I go for a close, and if it becomes gloomy, I can add a little light in the close up. So we made sure that we film everything in the wides first. And second, what happened was, from trying to be very peculiarly planned and being, see, that's a dream of mine where I know every shot of mine. What I also realized was, like how I write in a free flow subconscious state, I also film like that. So very early on I realized that, so there are 4 shots I wrote for the father's introduction sequence. This is the post introduction. After the thunder and lightning, after the child peeing incident happens, the next morning the children are waiting. So initially I had something saying that the father is smoking, he taps the cigarette, he's waiting, he looks, he turns, he looks, and he screams the name. Now this is written as a short breakdown, like just noted down. This is because this is your monkey brain thinking that you're inefficient. And I shot those things, I have the footage. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, this looks like, what is this? What am I doing? And then I realized, I'm trying to calculate. I'm trying to, like, film theory is one, I'm trying to understand it. I said, no, go with the instinct. So my instinct told me that I need to be as away from the father as possible, because the children don't know what is going to come.
All right.
And then I went behind him. I had a wide angle, anamorphic frame where everything happens in that one shot. And that scene is only efficient because it happens in a shot. So what happens is my direction becomes even more difficult, because I need to make sure that the timing matches. It cannot you cannot lag on things. And I also believe in the fact that the actor has to take his time. So I need to give him that walk. I need to make sure everything is set. Even the lighting is dramatic so that nothing happens. So then I started going with feeling. So how it used to happen is, I look through the viewfinder, I look at the character, I feel a certain way, I go close, I come back, I go extremely wide, and I don't tell anybody what I feel. But what I feel, I was very honest to it. The moment I feel like I'm trying to ape another filmmaker's shot, I cut it, I take like a minute break, I come back, again look into the viewfinder, go with feeling. So I kind of learned to trust, because I think for me at least, my instincts, I trust in them the most. Everything I've done in my life is because instinctively I felt something. With Naangal, I also brought it into my work, because now I know that I am not going to ape anybody else till the time my creativity dies. Maybe after that I'll start copying, but till then I know that I can trust myself.
Now, there are some shots in this film that are shot in very, very low light. Now, using digital equipment, how do you calibrate for that kind of thing? Because there is a lot of discussion about what is the lowest you can go on digital, because people have obviously come from film, and they usually try not to. Of course, the quality of blacks has improved over the years. If you remember early films like Mumbai Express, when there were like night shots and all that, you could see the blacks in the night shots were all little splotchy. I don't know what the correct term for it is, but they were little, because it was not picking up it was not getting enough information. How has that aspect improved in terms of digital cameras today?
So now it's way better than that, and we used a camera called Sony Venice Pro.
I'm right about Mumbai Express. That was one of the first.
Yeah,
right?
that's the first film. Yeah. So we shot in a camera called Sony Venice Pro 2, which has, technically it has 2 ISOs. One is 800 and another is 3200. 3200 ISO for a film camera is like a gift, because naturally it is able to take in a lot more light. So what we did was, the first day when we went to test the camera, it was about 6:15 in the evening. And I didn't know about the camera. They just said there are 2 ISOs. I said, okay, 2 ISOs, great, good for low light. And we are filming it, and I'm looking at the image, and I'm like, oh my god, how beautifully it is capturing what is there. I'm not comparing myself to Orson Welles, but like what Orson Welles said, I think the visual of Naangal is because I was ignorant. I did not know that these things have to be done because it has become a mandate now. So what happened was, that day of testing the camera, what kind of visual I saw, I just wanted to recreate that. So all I did was, I went to the set, and I'm a big fan of Emmanuel Lubezki, the cameraman for Revenant and stuff, Tree of Life, and the moment I heard that Revenant did not use one artificial light to film, I wanted to aim at that. I'm like, why can't I make a film like that? So initially, I remember the first prep, I said everything has to be candlelight and hurricane light and stuff. Then I also realized that, listen, see, we don't have the bandwidth. So I said, okay, let's go, but let's go very small and lean. I don't want to have too many equipments and stuff. So the moment I got this camera, I realized I can actually push. And the actual thing happened during the first day of shoot, because the third day of shoot, where we were shooting a night sequence, we kind of kept the hurricane lamp, and we actually, they were lighting up a lot of things, and the room was getting set. I kept the boy had kept the hurricane lamp, and our kid was standing there. I'm looking through the viewfinder, and it was crisp and clear. There were no digital noise, which is supposed to be film grains, but digital noise, nothing was there. And I'm like, see, when there is nothing there, why am I getting scared? And as it is black. So worst case scenario, I can add some darkness and make it even darker. I'm like, see, this is the only way I can experiment. So what we did was, we immediately stopped the lighting, and just with 3 hurricane lamps, we lit up that scene. And the moment we saw it in the monitor, instinctively I knew that this is going to work very well for the film. So from there, we started experimenting and trying to use as much as natural light as possible. And when there are some sequences which have not been included in even this film, and this version, nor the festival version, is the father and the elder brother having a chat, and we only lit it with fireplace. It was a scene where they are sitting next to a fireplace and chatting. That was the only light which was there, and that has come out beautifully. So I think now with the digital technology, I think it's come to a point where if you're able to plan your shots well, and again we were in Ooty, so it's very lucky, because it's again, it's very diffused light and stuff.
Light is softer.
Yeah, very soft, and even the way the sun hits the place is also different. Because I remember on the first day of shoot, I keep a shot, the ground is seen, the kid is seen, the kid's head is having a highlight, I see the lady next to him, and I also see the mountains, and I also see the sky, and everything is beautiful. And I'm like, okay, maybe Ooty is the location where I can do this. I may not be able to do that in Chennai. But then I also realized, when we have this, you'll have to go and kind of experiment. And what it also does, so I have a habit where when I'm shooting it, whatever I see is what I want to have when I'm grading. In grading, you have a process called base grade, where they neutralize everything. So after the first, I think my colorist did the first 2-3 shots, and I told him, let's not do the base grade, because I'm getting confused. I don't know what I shot. Suddenly everything seems right, and I might become artificial. So however we shot, we stuck to that, and he beautifully graded according to that.
Yeah.
So I think now the digital cameras have come to a point where you can actually experiment and stuff. But again, there is a problem, because sometimes it becomes too digital when there's too many lights, artificial things happening. This film made sure that we could rely on nature, and I think I'm going to take this to all my films, where nature is always going to be the first light source, and then comes the other lights.
Now, looking back, I want to ask you, see, the thing is, a first film is a kind of a calling card, right? Because it tells people what kind of filmmaker Avinash Prakash is, and I'm not saying this is the kind of story you're always going to tell, but what is his sensibility, roughly? Given that in mind, how much do you say, did you think at all about, will this film make me popular? Will this film get me the right producers? Will the right actors come to me? Will X star come to me after seeing this film? Or did you just say, I have an idea, I feel this is somehow, because you mentioned the word instinct a lot, I feel this should be my first film, and just go with it?
I've already written about 3 very mainstream bound scripts, which I have ready. So I know where I can go in terms of hitting it mainstream. It's extremely mainstream. It is in a way where it is a little over the top. At the same time, it is funny. And I also realized it has me everywhere. There's a bit of me everywhere. When it came to Naangal, okay, the idea, in the initial, when I wrote the first 30 pages of Naangal, I had decided 10 years down the line, when I make enough money, I want to indulge in this process of making a film about my childhood. This is why I started writing it. But then the moment I wrote 30 pages and I was trying to write the other ones, I was in conversation with my producer and I told him, sir, I'll send you 30 pages, see what happens. He read it and he kind of liked it a lot, and he said, see, listen, if this is how the film is going to be, this is what it's going to make me feel, I'd like to produce it. I said, okay, sir, I mean, let me see what I can do. So even then I was in discussion with one other producer for some other film. So I told him, sir, I'm talking to the other producer, let me see what I can do. And for 1 week I was just, with the other producer going for meetings and coming and stuff. And then one day I just woke up in the morning and again, instinct, I realized, no, I have to do Naangal. So I called him and I said, sir, if you're okay, I'll do Naangal. He said, I'm okay, provided you're going to give me the same feeling, you're not going to make it, I'll bring in a little more, masala or make it more formal-like. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. There was a thought that this isn't the conventional mainstream film that a filmmaker goes for. But I also thought that, see, I can show them that I'm an honest filmmaker. I can show them that I actually think about cinema a lot, and I think about cinema every day, day in and day out. Now, Naangal, I can show others that, listen, I'm a filmmaker.
Right.
This is what I can make. But then, if somebody is like, okay, this is fine, what do you have mainstream? I can narrate it. I can tell my other stories. By doing that, they'll know how funny I am and what I can probably take it to. This way, what happens is they can see how formal I can get and how, as a film director, I can actually, make a film which says this is a director's film.
Yeah, because like you said, film. And you're not just trying to tell a story, you have a real feel for the material and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, so I think it kind of made me a little more confident about my craft, because I know that I can do this. And see, here there are certain elements like the interval block and the climax and stuff which is shot very mainstream. That is also done because I also love the cinema that I've grown up seeing. So I wanted to bring that kind of an instinct and stuff. At the same time, I also like how formal an approach that I've grown up seeing some films where I learned that as well. So I wanted to bring a mix of both into this, and I did not think too much about, is it going to take me to the mainstream? Because I felt if you are somebody in the film business, when you watch the film, you will know that here is a director who can actually direct. And I've also done the cinematography, so they also can see that I'm a guy, I know what I'm doing. And yes, they might think, can he actually pull it off in the mainstream? But if they give me that call, I can go and actually pitch my mainstream so that they know what I can probably do.
Now, one of the things that, okay, you can direct, but you have also resisted the temptation of, let me do this 5-minute single shot kind of a thing, which people might typically say, this is going to impress people more. You've kind of really stuck to the grammar that this small story requires. Were you ever tempted at some point to say, I want to show the world what I'm capable of doing and do this extra thing? Or was there always some internal discipline that was there?
I think it was internal discipline, because I've never had that feeling ever in my life.
Okay.
So in film school, I did an examination which is to make a 10-minute film. It was supposed to be a 5-minute single take film. So we got 116mm film can where you can do it twice. If your first shot fails, you can do the second shot. I was the only guy in the film school. I did a 9-minute 58-second one-take film. So I've explored, I've probably given my all to that shot, and it was a very dramatic story about a father losing a house and how the children and family decide to be on his side. And that it starts from the hall, it goes to the kitchen, it goes to the dining, it goes to the son's room, it goes to the daughter's room, it comes to the hall, it goes to the kitchen, it goes to the washing area. So there's so much, and I all did this in a single take. And I was 19 or 18 when I did this. So I've already explored that side. So what happened was, I also realized that it is not important. Your story, how your emotions are conveyed is more important than me trying to do the gimmicky thing. And more often than not, I have felt when there is a long gimmicky take, I am not feeling it instinctively as to that 8 or 5 or 7 or 10-minute shot or 20-minute shot or something is not giving me what I could probably get if it was done in a more formalistic approach. So,
right. When you have 3 child actors, I'm not talking about the adult ones, the children, how do you direct them? Because the thing is, let's take the scene where they're at the restaurant and the father treats them to a good meal, but suddenly the niceness of the scene slowly transforms into something that is a little scary. You don't know if the dad is screwing around with them or is he really being, like serious and he's going to turn into a monster or whatever it is. Now, how do you direct children for a scene as volatile as that, which it's almost like sublimation where a solid turns into a vapor state, it's like you're starting off with this thing and yes, okay, you're happy, how do you direct us children to act for a scene like that?
So I've done small, little small parts in my when I was working in television, because at one point I didn't have any projects. So my boss said, why don't you go and act? So I had to go and act for others. So what I also realized during acting is that if you just call me and if let's say I'm wasting my time or just laughing away and suddenly you call me and you ask me to tell a dialogue, it's taking me far more time than if I'm in the zone and they say quickly do this. Whatever extreme stuff they're asking me to do, I don't have a problem doing it because I'm there. So the moment I learned this when I was in my early working life in television, what I did in this film was, it was shot in live sound, so there is no way you can say I'll do it in the dubbing or I'll do it later. And second, every room was decorated in a way where the children, when they walk in, they know this is the house and this is not where their play area and stuff. And early on, I had told myself, listen, now you have to be the Rajkumar's character at all times because you can't expect your actors to behave that way with them. I have to be that person. So early on, I had given them I never showed my happy or fun side to them. When they come and stand in front of me, I become the father, they become the children. That is the kind of equation we built. And even during the training, my direction team was, they were very friendly and they were very supporting the children. But when they come to me, I don't smile, I said, just act, don't waste my time. So I treated them like they were adults and they got it. And they will be doing, let's say, even if they have a little bit of moment, I know they're having a good moment, let them have, but the moment they come in near the camera, if they kind of go a little overboard, I just look at them, I'm like, what, do you think I'm wasting my time? So it becomes an adult conversation. So I had to play the father at all times so that the children are put in that situation. And I also made sure that I gave the instruction to my actor, the adult actors, telling them that at no point become friendly to the children. I know your instinct tells they're great children. You will have a time where the shoot will get over and you can become their best friends, not during the shoot, because you're going to screw the film, you're going to screw the actors because they are giving 42 days of their life to this. So everyone were put in situations where you come in, you just fall into the situation, and this helped the children. One, they were already innocent and they were just growing up so that nothing has corrupt them. Keeping this innocence alive, we also put them in a situation where you have no other way to react than this. So that also comes because I'm a very keen observant on my own self, where let's say I'm trying to lie to you. I also know that, shit man, why did you lie? You lied because this happened, because this happened. And then this is all because you're very insecure because you probably didn't pay your loans EMI and now you feel like a piece of shit. So I go that extreme to figure out what is happening to me. So because there is a constant psychological study as to how I'm feeling, what I'm doing, I'm just trying to bring that equation around.
Yeah.
So the moment I bring that equation around, and because I'm also handling the camera, there's no distraction for me. There is no situation where I can take a little bit and try to kind of, relax and come and chill. Nothing. I have to be there. I made sure that I was in a pressured situation like this so that I'm in focus and I don't go out of focus and I don't have other things to distract myself. So this was also done very deliberately because one, I functioned better, and then I knew that the children had to be in a situation where, because nobody's going to understand when you say, first of all, the children they probably are born in 2010 or 11. So I'm saying you're playing a 10-year-old kid, but you're in 97. They're not going to get it. Now, how do I make sure that they get it? So I told them, let's go to a location where you feel that way. There's no other way you can feel. And that worked for my advantage because they were thrown into a situation where whoever the children are, whoever the parent is, you have no other way to react. And of course, the guys who play Rajkumar and Padma, they were also great actors that they were able to beautifully fit in. But I think it all comes from the fact that as a director, you are very serious about what you do, and that slowly transcends to the crew and everybody comes together that way.
Right. So you do believe that the director is the captain of the ship?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no even though it is a collaborative medium, you feel that there should be one person cracking the whip.
Yeah.
There is no,
No.
you know,
Can't.
like beyond that, that's not.
See, I go to that extreme where I feel that even the visuals, you can't let someone else take a call, because then the visual starts fading away. Because that's happened to me. A couple of projects where I was a little lazy, I said, oh, I'll do a long shot. And you edit, this is not what you intended. Now, for that small project, probably because you did it for the money, it didn't matter. But you can't do that for a film, because it's going to be there forever. And whatever happens, whether I make big films, I don't make films, I make small films, Naangal is going to be a film that I've made. So I can't let that, my laziness get to a point. And I also feel that if a director is not being an authority, what happens is there are too many voices which comes. See, not everybody's intentions are always the best, but too many intentions come in and confuse what you instinctively felt. So I go by the feeling of it, and sometimes when I feel very strongly about something, I don't ask anybody anything, because it is collaborative, but it is a director's collaboration. So if the director chooses to collaborate, the collaboration can happen. If not, it has to be followed upon. That's all. There is no way that multiple people can come together and form one vision. It has to be a director's vision. According to me, it has to be a director's solid vision, supported by these wonderful technicians who can take in the vision and support them. But if the director is not going to have a vision, it's going to be a very tough thing making a film.
And when you mean vision, you mean not just the story, but down to the minute thing of what each thing needs to look like, or what it needs to feel like, what the performance meter and pitch is, what the sound should be, everything.
Yes. See, like for example, in terms of set design, I might not know the prop which is going to be used here, but I should know I should have a very strong feeling about how I want it.
Yeah.
Because if I don't have the strong feeling, I'm going to give the wrong instruction. And on the day of the shoot, if I get the wrong prop, I'm going to manage with it. I don't want to manage, at least when I'm making films.
Right. So, now, one of the mainstream elements in this movie is that you have music, and you have even released a song by Ved Shankar. He's the music director. Given the fact that it's a film, you are going to have some kind of emotional background to it. How did you feel you wanted to structure the music? Are you saying that the director should know the music as well, or at least what kind of music that he wants?
Yeah, he should know what kind of music that he wants, but I have a great story here, because I love to hear minimalist OSTs, like the OSTs of these alien films, which is just minuscule atmospheric films. I love those tracks, and I listen to that, and I write. So all my films that I'm writing or I write, I have a list of OSTs done. So for Naangal also I had an OST done. So my OST was Tree of Life. Tree of Life played major part, and there was certain sequences where the time traveler's wife, there's a series. So I took a few tracks from that. So I arranged it according to how I want the film to be, and I keep listening to it in a loop. I wrote the film like that, and then I made the film. These music gave me that emotions and what I wanted to convey and stuff. So when I edited the film, I used it using these minimalistic tracks, and then I called my friend Ved, my composer, to listen to it. This is where I love what collaboration can do, because I had a very solid vision as to what I want. I also gave him the exact placements of where I want the background score. So he saw the film, he loved the film, and he said, okay, give me some time. He went back home after probably a week or two. He called me and he said, just the first reel is done, listen to it. I heard the first reel. The first reel I hear, it had the thematic similarity of the tonal similarity of what he gave me and what I gave him as reference, but he made it a little more emotional. Now when I heard that, I suddenly felt like I'm not alienating myself, because I feel I'm a little distant, but this music brings me close to home. And I feel like I could belong to some other house as well. So the moment I get this, and I tried remembering which track I used, I couldn't remember it. So here is where a very solid vision of mine, again a fantastic collaborator, comes in and makes it even better. So initially at all times we had to keep discussing as to this is what we want, this is what we want. And the composer gave me 2 other places where he put in music. I said, no, let's remove the music. So my vision for that has to be clear. So what it gave him was, it gave him exact pointers so he could focus more. And we recorded the Firdaus orchestra, all women's orchestra, mentored by Rahman sir. So the moment they came on board, whatever, again, this is where I should know that I don't know everything. This is what I thought the tune was. And Ved said, we're going to record an orchestra. I'm like, great, it's going to just be a better version of this. And the first time I heard the first track from the orchestra, I'm like, dude, what the hell is this? Is this the music I'm going to get for my film? Because I gave him not too much of a budget as well. I'm like, he said, yeah. And then when I placed that orchestral music to the film, the entire film went up. It was very palpable, and that is when I knew the film is a mainstream film. It has a different sensibility, but it's very mainstream. My vision, when I meant I had a strong vision, I had a strong idea as to what kind of music I want. I didn't want it to be a Indian melody or a tune which is like making it over dramatic. And we were very clear in the fact that, see, Ved is a fantastic composer. He can go any range. But I had to tell him, this film, if there's a sad scene happening, go one step up. And if it's a happy scene, go one step down. That's enough. Let's not go like, if there's a sad scene, immediately bring cellos or voice. And let's not do that. No, that is how the thing was. So when we sent it to the festivals, we didn't have this song composed. So director Ram sir, who saw the film, he said, there was a Hindi song that the mother sings. So he said that, listen, have a good Tamil song. I said, yes sir, because we need to buy the rights for this. I would as well compose a new song. And I was also happy because my friend was getting to compose a song. Again, for the song, the instruction was, don't give me a structured song. The film doesn't have a structure. Don't give me like whatever the song structure is. And Ved was able to give me something which again was very free flowing, and the words. And I also like songs which are like broken, like half, and then a complete sentence. And it also had to be like a Western ballad where a question is asked, an answer is given, but what if the answer and question are given by the same person? This again was written keeping this in mind. So this way the collaboration between me and Ved was very good. It doesn't mean that we never had arguments, we never had fights. For the trailer music again, because see, I understand because he's composed 45 tracks for the film, and I come and tell him nothing is working, give me a new track. Anybody with the right mind will be like, what do you think I am? How much can I keep making? I didn't want to give him the money. I told him, listen, try composing something, and he gave me something which I didn't like. So when he gave me something, he called me obviously saying, I could hear from his tone he was not very happy, not with the tune but with me, asking for another tune and stuff. Because we are best friends, we have that rapport. So he said, how was it? I didn't like it. I don't know what. He said, okay bro. I said, okay, and he got angry. I knew he was angry, and because he got angry, I got angry, and for 2 days we never spoke to each other, knowing that this is the thing that we have to address, no other option. I don't have another composer, I don't even have the extra budget. So then I told him, can you come to the office, let's meet. And I played him a soundtrack. 30 seconds in, he said, I got the tune. Don't worry, get me a violinist, make sure that you get me a live violinist. I said, okay. I said, how much will it cost? He said, 25 to 30K. I said, somehow I'll beg, borrow, steal. I'll talk to the producer, I'll convince him that this is important. You just get your tune. He said, the tune has come. This is what he told me. And then when we went to the day of the trailer recording, those 2.5 hours of my life is the best time I've had in music composing, because once the trailer music, because again, trailer we again use some Hollywood track where, multi-million-dollar invested tracks. With just one violin, he was able to give me a better music than what I had initially kept. The moment I heard, we saw the trailer in the studio, I said, listen, there's one portion in the film where I asked you not to give music. In the sound mixing, we had to replace some other music. I'm feeling guilty. Can you do something? When it was a climax sequence where a solo violin happens. So you've not seen that version yet. There's a solo violin there. When the solo violin happens, it pierced my heart again, and my entire reason for why I made this film kind of came in front of me, and I'm like, shit man, this is why I made this film. It was not for my parents, it was not for the siblings. Yes, I still say it is a love letter to my parents because I'm learning what it is. It is a love letter to my siblings because I'm trying to understand. But more than all these things, it is for my dog, who the dog kind of died, and so yeah, it was for my dog. And it was also for something which said that, see, now I'm able to feed 6 dogs. I can take care of them. But at that point, I couldn't.
Yeah.
So that's why the climax.
Yeah, and so the climax, and it's also kind of closure for you, I guess, because the thing is, you know, the fact that you're getting emotional about something so many years after the fact is also I guess a great sign that you really needed to make this movie. And so all the best. And yeah, I hope this we have a similar conversation about your next movie as well. So all best for Naangal. Thank you.
MCR Pure Cotton Club, formals and casual shirts.
பாரம்பரியமான சுவையான புது அறிமுகம் KTV True Value Bronatile.